nations. Secular Zionism differs a little bit from religious Zionism in the sense that these people don't really care so much about religion or the Messiah or anything like that. They just want a place where Jews can be sovereign. And where better to be sovereign than the land of our ancestry? And the land that Zionism seeks is the land that is outlined in the Bible as Moses gave to the children of Israel. So that's Zionism in a nutshell. In the most simple definition, it's the Jewish belief in in sovereignty, in self-determination.
Let me move here. Nick, I see you got your hand on your face. You look bored. You look like you're sighing. I'd love to know where you agree or disagree with not only the people on the panel, but also just what you would define it as. And just note, gentlemen, after Nick is done speaking, we'll start with Nick. Nick, share with us your opinion on this, and then let's give us your opening statement on your general position on this, your understanding of Zionism, and anywhere you want to go. Let's keep the remarks under 2 minutes for your opening statement if we can.
Okay. Well, I'm not bored. I'm not sighing because I'm bored. It's actually an interesting conversation. I'm just chomping at the bit to get in here. But no, I actually agree with Adam. It's important to note, and maybe this is where the agreement will end. I think actually it's interesting. Me and Adam are kind of like the true opposites. We're really the true opposite poles in this debate because he's a Messianic Chabad Kabbalist Jew, and I'm a Messianic Catholic.
I'm actually not a Chabad Jew. I'm actually a Breslov.
I'm sorry. You're right. Hasidic, not Chabad.
Different type of Hasidic.
Yes. So in any case, so we really are the true opposites. And it's important to note the distinction between the religious Zionists and the political Zionists or the secular Zionists. And he's right. I mean, the most prominent Zionists during the creation of the State of Israel were labor Zionists. That was the first handful of prime ministers and very left-wing socialists. And certainly it's true that a lot of Jews today, I think probably most of them in Israel, would not be considered religiously Zionist. And, you know, this regime that Netanyahu has cobbled together has a lot of religious Zionist Jews in there. And this has created a lot of tension with the United States and with Europe and even with the political situation in Israel. And so I actually agree. I think that, but regardless, the point is I think both secular and religious Zionists want a Jewish state in Israel. What that looks like, how that's structured, there's difference between them, but I guess those are the fundamental similarities. They want a Jewish state in Palestine, in what is considered Palestine. Now, again, the scope and who's going to be in there, that's subject to debate. My position on Zionism is I actually reject the religious Zionism more. I don't necessarily think it's a worse thing if the Jews have a state or have their own people. And although I think that what they're doing is inhumane and what they've done in the past is inhumane, and although I don't think the United States should support it, you know, this is a stateless people. They're a diaspora people, and they built a country, and it is what it is. You know, I'm not one of these humanitarian, you know, bleeding heart liberals that says, you know, that they're colonists or something like that. To some extent, I do believe in a might makes right sort of mentality because it's sort of difficult. What is the foundation of the state other than that, other than the ability to project force within a given jurisdiction? But the religious Zionism is troubling because, you know, Adam talks about the Messiah, but of course the Messiah already came. His name's Jesus Christ. And the Messiah that Adam has in mind is going to destroy the Vatican, is going to destroy Rome in his mind. He's going to seek retribution against the Catholic Church for all of the perceived iniquities that Rome has prosecuted against the Jews. So, of course, I don't support this messianic religious project because it's heretical and it's blasphemous and it's wrong. And fundamentally, it's set against and opposed to the true faith, which is Catholicism. So, and just to sort of wrap that up, like I said, we are the true opposites in the sense that, you know, I feel like in this debate and maybe in other debates, it's a question about, you know, what should America do and liberals and this kind of thing. And I think Adam wants America to make the world open for the Messiah. I want America to form the world into the Catholic Church, to form the world into Jesus's church. And so in that sense, you know, we really are these battling twin brothers of Rome and Israel. So, so that would be my opening statement. I'm opposed to it. opposed to religious Zionism. If there's political Zionism, I think the United States should not support it because they have been hostile towards us. They have not been friendly.
That's interesting. And Gavin, and I'd really want to point this out for people that aren't familiar with you. So obviously Gavin is a legend. If people don't know about this, to give credit, you're new to the show, make sure that you're following right now on Rumble. Make sure that you're following on X. We got to get these numbers up. But most importantly, that you can support on this amazing operation that Gavin put together, censored.tv. You can support it with the promo code OFFENSIVE, 20% off a membership. Shout out to that for somebody who's actually building alt tech, who's on this other case, who's putting his money where his mouth is. But he's also from New York. And so, I'm from LA. He's from New York. He's not just somebody who's, knows about Jewish people. He's worked with them. He's worked in media. And so it's really interesting to hear the perspective. And so as an opening statement, Gavin, giving the background and a lot of life experience in this area. Shout out to Nick, too, who just realized he's old now. He's found out, he's not one of these young Zoomer kids anymore, or alpha kids. He's these old Zoomer boomer guys. Gavin, give us your opening statement.
Okay. The highest density of Hasidic Jews is Montreal, upstate New York, and Williamsburg, Brooklyn. And that's where I've lived since I was 18. And I think the Achilles heel with Nick's argument is he sees Jews as a monolith. Even within Orthodox Jews, there's constantly these civil wars. So I made this incredible chart to try to differentiate between what I call the four Jews. And they are, number one, Hasidim. Brian, you can hit it at any time now. What were you doing there? Like, it wouldn't occur to you to drop the hammer at that point?
Ezra Levant. Sorry, is that Ezra Levant in the back?
Yep. So there's Hasidim, and these guys are like Smurfs. They're a very weird little group. They don't really dislike Goyim or Orthodox. They don't even see anyone else. They're living in a bubble, and like the guys in the tunnels have nothing to do with Group 4, who we'll get to in a second. There is kind of like a tip of the hat, like thank you for your service, between Orthodox and Hasidim, but not really. Like they have a mutual sense of respect, but they're not in the same universe. These guys are in outer space. So don't drag them into anything else here. And these guys are pro-Israel, anti-Israel. Then you have the Orthodox Jews like Ron Coleman. These are our allies. They're pro-Trump. They love Christians. They help Christians. They are great dudes. And they're an integral part of every movement, including, by the way, the new right. Alt-right, all these new right movements, you need Jews like this and this in the mix. I don't know. They're just good at organizing. Then you have the secular Zionist Jews, not as devout as Ron over here, like Ezra Levant. These guys are friends. They're cool. Your beef is mostly with these. I call them ginos. They're secular. They're anti-Zionist. They hate Israel. They're Bolsheviks. They're mostly atheists. They go to temple. Temple's a joke. George Soros is second-generation atheist. They believe in things like female rabbis. And you got to understand that these bitches hate these guys, and these three guys fucking hate this bitch's guts. Although Hasidim don't even hate these people. They don't think of these people. Like they sort of acknowledge these people, but these guys are in a universe all their own. So these two are the real Jews in the world. These are fake. And most of your beef, like in the media and in politics, is going to be these ginos. Now, the reason that I say I oppose anti-Semitism, well, one of the many reasons is I go, white people have this sense of ethnomasochism. We're altruistic. We want to debase ourselves. We're horrible. We're horrible. You see people from this group, a disproportionate number in media and politics, go, yeah, you do suck. You are horrible. So what whites do is or anti-Semites do is they go, these fuckers made me hate myself. And that's true. In a sense, there are a lot of people from this group saying that white people suck, but you can't put all the blame on them. There has to be some culpability here. And that is why I keep harping about this, because I want you to have some culpability. Before the end of World War II, before Jews took over the media, white people were still like, oh, we suck, we're horrible. We had an American Holocaust in this country. We lost 620,000 men. That's the equivalent of 5 million today. Why? Because we were worried about Negroes' rights. We were so altruistic. We were sailing boats over to Africa. In Woman King, the Dahomies, we were like, please stop having slaves. We were more concerned about Africans than Africans were. Or Or the Indians. We were so worried about the Indians. We had a 360-year war with them, and we were like, oh, my God, that we fought. I love them so much. We named our cars, our towns, Ronkonkoma, Mamaroneck, and Geronimo, and Tomahawk fucking missiles. Like, we worshiped the Indians, and they slaughtered us. So whites have this sense of self-hatred, and to blame it on the Jews is a cop-out. It's like Jared Taylor says, you know, it was at the point where if it rains on your birthday, you blame the Jews. And that's what we criticize blacks for. Blacks are always like, man, I can't get a leg up because Whitey's always knocking me down. Well, you're the same when you constantly blame this group. This group is not responsible. This group is contributing to your problems, by the way. But you also, as a white person, need to confront your ethnomasochism.
Okay, so we're calling that
I'm impressed, man.
Multi-Jewers.
I never heard a Gentile put it so succinctly like that. You could tell that Gavin grew up around a lot of Jews.
Go ahead, Vince.
Fucking kikes.
I thought the K word was going to be dropped by the other side, but let's fucking go.
It's usually niggers and chicks who say kike.
Vince, I'm glad I put this on YouTube. Someone was like, hey, are we going to live stream this on
This would have
YouTube?
been the last day of your YouTube channel.
Fuck no. Yeah, all right. Vincent, obviously you got
I
stuff
didn't
to
even
say
know
on
you still had a YouTube channel. That's
well, it
good job on
barely
keeping that.
exists.
You always
getting
wonder
9
about people who have YouTube channels, like if they're like in on something. Like, how do you still have a YouTube channel?
We don't make money from it, and we get like 9 views, so it basically doesn't exist. So please follow us on Rumble. Follow Vincent. Everyone's in there. By the way, Nick's on Rumble. We got Adam King as well on X and his website, everything, and also we got Gavin. So make sure you're following him on Rumble. But Vince, I mean, you know, he knows his Jews. He said he got his Jew stuff down. And so before we have the Jew and the man, the myth, the legend, Adam King speak, I mean, hey, give us your. I mean, you kind of gave your opening statement, but where do you stand on this?
Yeah, I just want to respond to Gavin a little bit. Like a lot of those people that, and maybe not specifically those people that he has of the heads up there on screen, but a lot of those people that I guess would be in those categories agree on one thing, and that one thing is making sure that they defend Israel at all costs.
No,
and that Israel, and that
these three defend Israel at all costs. These cunts would happily let Israel burn to the ground.
Well, okay, but here's the thing. Like, if you look at like what Sarah Silverman's saying on Twitter, it sounds a lot like she's defending Israel, right? If you look at a lot of these atheist Jews, these atheist liberal Jews who you would describe or who you would categorize as ginos, a lot of them seem to be pretty strongly in support of Israel. And like you look at like
Sarah Silverman's sister is an activist in Israel. She is she's an Orthodox Jew. So I won't count Sarah Silverman. And Sarah Silverman, she is pretty darn fucking anti-Zionist for even someone who has a Zionist sister. But if you look at the other ones who will happily, they're pro-Palestine. That's the other thing I always argue with Nick about this. In Israel, there are anti-Zionists who are pro-Palestine and want the wall to go. Like the problem with you guys is you're devoid of nuance within this view of the Jew.
Well, so I don't think that's true. I think, in my opening statement, I differentiated between secular and religious Zionists. And you're right. I mean, there's even Jews within the Hasidic community, although not many of them who are anti-Zionist. And there's secular Jews who are anti-Zionist for their reasons. But ever since the October 7th attack, there's almost none of them that are pro-Palestine anymore. Everybody in Israeli society has moved to the right, and there's almost nobody that's anti-war anymore. There's almost nobody that's pro-Palestine. They can't do their protests anymore. No one will host them. They're dwindling numbers. And the reason for that is because when they are attacked, that is when you see the real nature of Jews, which, although you're right, I mean, there's that old trope about you get 2 Jews, you get 3 different opinions. They love to argue. That's really sort of the essence of their legalistic tradition. But when they are attacked by a Gentile, when they are attacked by the nations of the world, all those differences vanish and they all become cognizant and conscious of the thing that they have in common, which is that they are all Jews. And that's why, 3 weeks before the October 7th attack, Ben Shapiro was bashing Jonathan Greenblatt for years. And Jonathan Greenblatt was hitting a lot of the Zionist Jews, and the Zionist Jews were trying to undermine Greenblatt for years, ever since he took over ADL. But on October 7th, when that attack happened, Shapiro was retweeting Greenblatt, and Greenblatt went on MSNBC to shame MSNBC and said, you have too many pro-Palestine commentators on this network. And when the Chabad Lubavitchers in New York were in the tunnel, who's out there at the forefront defending them against the anti-Semitic tropes? It's the liberal ginos from ADL. And so I agree with you. I mean, there is distinction, there is nuance within it, but at the end of the day, they're all on the same team. And it's that race loyalty which is so pernicious in an open society like America, especially when they have influence. Blacks are very race loyal, but it doesn't really matter because they're broke. I mean, their average wealth and average income is so low, and they really have no political agency. But Jews having that extreme race loyalty, maybe more than any other group, and it's a testament to them. I think that's a positive attribute in some sense. But they're here. And this is not the Jewish state. This is the American state. They wield influence, and they use it to their own benefit, their primary benefit, which is the nation of the Jews across the world, or the state of Israel. And that comes at the exclusion and often the expense and the detriment of the United States. And so, I don't hate Jews. I don't have necessarily even a problem with them. I don't want to kill them or harm them like people say. But I think that you can't have people in charge of the country, hidden. And I think that's a fair assumption. There have been various explanations given. The first explanation was that they were hiding from COVID. And then even the Crown Heights website updated, because they initially suggested that, they updated the story and said the timeline doesn't add up. That's not why they dug it.
No,
It's
a future risk of COVID.
Yeah, I don't know how plausible that is, though. They then said it was a renovation, or that they were expanding the synagogue, but again, or rather the 770 building. But again, why would you hide the dirt? Why would you hide the dirt that you're displacing? It seems
there's no evidence of that. This is all so new. We're talking about something that happened 2 days ago, and we're all experts on the subject. We don't know
pictures of the dirt that is hidden in another chamber.
Okay, but we don't know who put the dirt there. It could have been illegals.
Okay, come on now. It's 770 Chabad World Headquarters.
This is the thing, Gavin. It's like, why
to do any hard labor ever?
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sure they hired illegals to do it. I'm sure they hired illegals to pick up the shovels, but they were the masterminds. And look, here's the thing. I mean, we can speculate what exactly the tunnels were for. I think it's clearly nefarious because it was hidden. When people hide things when they're doing something wrong. Now, it's plausible that they were trying to evade a zoning thing. It was a dispute between these Israeli Messianic Chabad Jews and the community that runs the synagogue. That's really besides the point. The point that I made about this, what was interesting, is that the story was reported, and then everybody saw it and made jokes about it, and they made all kinds of insinuations about it. And then the Jews got together and said, we're not going to talk about it anymore, and shame on everybody for talking about it. There was an op-ed on the website that initially reported it, the Crown Heights website, and it was written by a Jew who was not a Chabad Jew. And he said, well, shame on us for reporting it to the Gentiles, and shame on the Jews for laughing or celebrating that Jews are being arrested by the police. Where is our sense of loving our fellow Jew? Is there no Jewish values? And it gets back to my sort of the big thesis of this whole debate. And we can get back and forth into the weeds and the minutiae of these things. But the fundamental thing, which hasn't been disputed, is that they are a nation. They are race loyal. They look out for each other. And this is baked into the cake in the Talmud. It's baked into the cake in the Zohar. It's baked into the cake that they see the Gentiles as other, as excluded, as spiritually deficient or spiritually not able to reach the same level. And so they think that they're here in this country as their own thing. And, if they were leaving everybody alone, maybe that would be fine. But they're very powerful, and they have an audience internationally, particularly the Chabad Jews with Milei, who was just elected in Argentina. Where did he travel after he was elected? Traditionally, the president of Argentina actually travels to Brazil for their first foreign visit. Many people don't know this. Milei traveled to Brooklyn to visit the Chabad World Headquarters in 770 because his rabbi is a Chabad Jew. He then went to Israel. And of course, the Chabad Jews have an audience with Putin, with Netanyahu, with Biden. They were in the White House on calls with Trump. And of course, Kushner is and supports, and his family supports, the Chabad community as well. And so there's something here that doesn't work, which is the Chabad Jews get together and say, you know, we look out for each other. We don't tattle on each other to the cops. We don't report our dirty business to the Gentiles. They're also extremely powerful in Gentile society. You can't have it both ways. You either are in Gentile society and you're going to be among us and you're going to be with us, or if you're going to be exclusive like that, then you can't be influencing our society. It's not good for us. And there's a word for that. You know, if there's an organism that attaches itself to you, typically smaller, and they're sort of benefiting, I mean, you know, you can say that, but by definition, it's a symbiotic relationship. And you can say, my gosh, and you can, you know, throw up your arms, but it's what it is. And you said it yourself. I watched your interview. You said, I mean, and earlier in this debate, you said, well, America's great because our Constitution. You omitted the part, which I saw a couple days ago. You said, well, because freedom is a precondition for the Jewish Moshiach to arrive, because freedom allows, Hasidic Kabbalists like you to bring about the Messiah who is going to deliver a vengeance on the Catholic Church. So, like, you know, and you omitted that part. So it's not, oh my gosh,
let's talk
you're
about
not
the
American,
real.
you're Jewish.
Listen, since we got brought up with the tunnel subject, let's talk about the real tunnels. And that's the Vatican tunnels, Nick.
There it is.
What's underneath the Vatican tunnels is all the Jewish books and all the Jewish artifacts that have been stolen from the Jews. Why should I sit here and honor your stupid idea that the Vaticans have no amends to make to the Jews? You have all of our possessions.
I can't believe people want to talk about the tunnels so much. The tunnels.
Wait, Gavin, why'd you cut him off?
Hang on. He was just in the middle of something. Go ahead, Adam King.
It's like, you know, first of all, like the Arc de Triomphe, it has pictures of all the things that the Romans carried off with it into and buried under the tomb of Saint Peter, which is the Vatican. The Vatican, which is like the most unchristian thing in the entire Christian world. And I'm happy to go do a deep dive on Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. I mean, Matthew and Mark didn't even know Jesus. Luke and John, one of them's Jewish, one of them's not. But for some reason, the Catholics forced this entire doctrine on the Jewish people that if we didn't convert, we're going to be killed and our books are going to be taken from us. So you guys are so up in arms about these. It was a zoning thing. They wanted to expand the tunnels. The Lubavitcher Rebbe said
expand the tunnels.
The Lubavitcher Rebbe said before he died that he wanted to expand the base midrash, not the tunnels. And so this group of like young Israeli boys took over an abandoned mikveh, dug out underneath it, broke the wall, and when they broke the wall, the Lubavitchers called the police and arrested these boys.
Oh yeah.
It's the end of story. But the real issue is not about these tunnels. Let's talk about what's underneath the Vatican. Let's talk about the real crimes that have been committed against the Jewish people. And it's not just the Jewish people, because the Vatican doesn't just sit on the treasure trove of the Jewish antiquity, but every single nation that Rome conquered. In fact,
Adam, why
there are so many nations that exist in the...
I'm asking you a real question because I don't mind talking. No, I don't mind. I just want to know, why are we focusing on what's going on in the Vatican than just answering the question?
Because he hates Christians and he hates Christianity.
No, I don't hate Christians, but I
do
think I do think that Catholics have a little bit of a twisted doctrine.
Well, you actually said Christianity is just a bunch of people terrified as hell. You actually said that early Christians
they're terrified
are evil people.
of hell. Actually, hell. Thank you for bringing that up.
As
hell is a Jewish concept, but in Judaism, you only the longest sentence in hell is 11 months. This concept of eternal hell or eternal heaven, you know, when Jesus came around, Judaism believes in reincarnation. So all of a sudden Jesus comes and now reincarnation's not a thing anymore. And oh yeah, hell's different too, and heaven's different too. And but like you have to accept this, even though it's completely different than what Moses taught you. But this is the new.
Was that in your Talmud? Did you get that from the Talmud?
This motherfucker. I'm not even going to address your.
No, I just want to go back to the whole like the totally watering this whole tunnel thing down. Like you have a lot of people that are saying that it was for COVID, but that the tunnels were dug 6 months ago. You have a lot of people that are saying that it was well, okay, not just you. But there's a lot of people that are saying that are like that are saying this on Twitter and online, and you just said that it was just a couple of unruly teens that were digging the tunnels underneath, and then when the elders found out, they called the police. Hold on a second. Hold on. 1 second.
What if you heard that Hell's Angels had tunnels under their club? You'd go, yeah, I figured. The fucking tunnels.
No, but hold on.
This entire debate.
Okay,
it ruins this entire debate.
No, I know. I just want to mention this. I just want to mention this one point about that. So, like, and then they say, well, they hired illegals. Well, it's like
that's way more interesting.
Well, hold on a second here. So, I have a hard time believing that these elders that are in this building all the time didn't hear 26 illegal Mexicans digging under their floorboards. Okay, we can move on for that. We can come back to that. I don't care. We can come back. I want to stay on this topic of how much you hate Christianity.
What?
Years. So it's weird how, again, Jews are 0.4% of the population. In this country, they are overrepresented, of course, like every country, in the elitist and the wealthy class. They were upset. There's tons of white guilt here. They didn't like people being upset at them. Instead of punishing the Arab immigrants, who are the ones leading the cause, they've made Nazism illegal and made right-wing nationalism the target of these new domestic emergency violence laws. That being said, 30% of Jews are causing 100% of the Jewish hate because they're causing the problems. Okay, let's go with that truth. And down to it that Jews are not a huge portion and that whites cause a lot of the problems. This is a horrible, horrible question, but I want to just bluntly ask you, would the West be better off with just kicking all of the Jews out?
That's a good setup.
Are you drunk?
And now we're back to the same question that Zerka was rambling his fat ass about. It was, the Jews are getting kicked out of 109 countries. That is the most retarded thing I've ever heard. Would America be better off? I'll tell you something about Jews. We are incredibly diligent and hardworking, and we stick together because of shit like this. Because we're not welcome everywhere. We're only welcome amongst ourselves, even if we hate each other some of the times. I don't want to be stuck in a survival pod with Larry David and Sarah Silverman. But if everybody's coming after the Jew, my chances of survival are better with those two losers.
So you just admitted what we've been saying. Then the left-wing Jews and the right-wing Jews stick together when it comes to Gavin's shaking his head over here, so you're not helping him out.
It's the truth. When the right-wingers like Nick want to lump all Jews into one category, it doesn't leave me any room to go after and purge my own society of the opiates in my society. You know, like when you went on your debacle with Kanye and you were going all around and Kanye was on Gavin's show and he said, are all Jews to blame? Blacks aren't disproportionately in crime? Are all blacks? I don't go around saying all blacks are responsible for crimes. Are all Jews evil? And he said, yeah. And it's like, where do I fit into that? That was like I loved Kanye West before that thing. Why did he?
Now you don't like him anymore?
Why would I like him? Why would I
because
like him
you're
anymore?
Because you're not a universalist.
It pains me to not listen to his music. When his song comes on the radio, it's like, oh, this fucking piece of shit again.
Because you're
I'm not
gonna
like somebody who doesn't like. I don't have to like somebody who doesn't like me.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
I know.
If they don't want me to exist, I don't need to become their fanboy or their
Adam. If you were to get rid of two religions, if you were given the choice, or you had to get rid of one religion, and it was Islam or Catholicism, which one would you get rid of?
Great question.
Duh.
What?
What'd you say?
Catholicism.
What?
Yeah.
Of course. What do you think? Who do you think you're talking?
Listen,
You're on the debate stage with
you guys
Gavin.
have to
We've
understand
known
something.
we've
Well,
known
let him
this.
cook. Let him cook.
Let me
him say
explain
this.
myself. You want to hear an explanation, or do you want my one word?
No, we want the go off, please.
All right. So here's the thing. Jesus was a real man, and he brought down a teaching, and he had a vast menagerie of writings, unbelievable amounts of writings. Somehow the Catholics at Nicaea only saw it important to include Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, right? Eusebius points out that the first 15 popes were actually Jews. So in the beginning of Catholicism, when they embraced the other teachings of Jesus, like the Gospel of Thomas, the Gospel of Mary, and all these other Gospels, there was a lot more palpability between we can't call them Catholics because they weren't Catholics. Catholicism is really a Nicene invention, and it's a Nicene invention based in limiting the amount of texts that people have to understand Jesus. So Catholicism itself is not getting rid of Jesus religions. It's getting rid of fake news inside of Jesus religions. You know, I always wonder why nobody ever stood to learn the Apocrypha or to learn the Nag Hammadi library or any of these other texts that are extremely relevant. I know in the Jewish culture, there are some sages that I follow. If a shoemaker from a distant place said one comment that Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai said this while passing in an alley, I would study it. But for some reason, Catholics don't even think that or the Catholic doctrine of Matthew, Mark, the Nicene doctrine. I don't even want to call them Catholics. I want to call them Niceans. The
Dude, you're
Nicene
babbling. What the
doctrine
fuck are you talking
doesn't
about?
allow them to study
This is
anything of
ridiculous.
Jesus besides Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. I think that is a detriment to Jesus himself.
But can I ask you one question? So what do you think? So you say that Catholicism is preventing the Jesus followers. You curiously don't call them Christians, Christ meaning Messiah. Now, what is your view about Jesus' crucifixion? Do you think that he was crucified and rose from the dead? Or
I divide the world up into two camps.
Well, would you think that Jesus rose from the dead?
I'm answering you. I divide the world up into two camps. There are those of us who believe that a Messiah is coming, and then there are others who don't. And the rest of it is meaningless. Is the Messiah coming or is the Messiah not coming? Now, I believe the Messiah is coming. Nick, I hope you believe that the Messiah is coming. If the Messiah comes
back,
Jesus,
coming
back for your ass, pal.
Yeah, he's returning.
I'm going to say Gesundheit. Hey, if the Messiah comes and it's somebody else, you have to understand something. The Bible is very clear. Every knee will bow and every tongue will profess. Every single person on earth is going to say, oh, that's the Messiah. It's not going to be the Christians and not the Jews. It's not going to be the Jews and not the Christians. It's Ad Shiloh. Shiloh is a gathering of all the peoples of the world, and that is the Messiah. And so there is such a fundamental understanding of the Messiah. Either you believe a Messiah is coming or you don't. I'm a Messianic. I believe that the Messiah is coming. Do I care if it's Jesus? Not at all. If the person comes and fulfills the function of what the Messiah is supposed to do, I will be the first to praise his name.
So
See, this is the reason why the Jews have tried to subvert the Catholic Church. This is the reason why they represent Jesus. They represent Catholic priests in the way that they do in Hollywood, is because Catholicism and Catholics are their enemy.
Wait. I just want to establish. So you don't then believe that Jesus was crucified and rose from the dead, correct?
I see nothing wrong with any of that. It doesn't bother me.
Do you believe it?
Just answer the question.
To my faith.
Do you believe that? Do you believe that happened or no?
Do I believe it happened? It's not something that I think about that often.
So you think about the apocryphal gospels.
You know, I'll tell you something.
And you think about the Council of Nicaea, but you don't think about whether Jesus was really raised from the dead.
More than one person in Judaism came back to life after being
Was Jesus one of them?
Yeah, but
you know what? For this argument, I'll say fine. That's okay.
Andrew,
it doesn't
Jesus
bother
is the only
me.
one
It
who
doesn't
said,
change the fact.
I am the Son of God. I guarantee you I can rise from the dead. And he rose from the dead. If there's someone drowned and they were revived, that doesn't count. Jesus was the only one who claimed he was the Son of God, was murdered for it, and then came back and proved them all wrong.
By the Romans.
By the Jews. Yeah,
the
see,
Romans.
Adam King is gonna, and this is the reason. This is
By the
Vatican too, right? They try
Let's
to
talk
get the
about it.
Catholic Church to never
This
talk about
idea-
this.
This
right?
idea that
This
Pontius Pilate.
Adam
Let's
King
talk about
will
Jesus
say,
and Barabbas.
well, hold on.
You guys want to go down Jesus and
I
Barabbas?
know you're gonna say. I know what you're gonna say. I already know
What
you're
am I
gonna say. You're gonna say that
James.
he was that a Roman soldier put the spear in him, and the same spear is being paraded around by Hitler when Hitler was in power. It was the Jews told them to kill Christ.
Which
That's what happened.
Jews? The Jews of Jerusalem, or did all the Jews of all of earth get together and put a vote and say that all the Jews say that this is what's going to happen? Or was it a specific amount of Jews? I personally believe that the Jesus Barabbas situation never even happened. I think it's a fable and it's completely fake.
There
I
it
think
is.
there's a lot. I think there's
There
a
it
lot
is.
of.
I
think there's a lot of the Nicene.
Wait. Hold on. I know my mic cuts out when you guys speak. Flaw just told me that. I don't know. That's a sound issue on my end. So sorry. That's why I'm having a hard time interjecting. But Gavin, this is on your side here. I'll say this: you're with Adam. You let us know your opinion. You basically liquid shat splooged into the microphone, which is a pretty great statement. But I mean, from my understanding, and I don't know if anything's changed, but you're Catholic, or at least you're.
I don't think you understand how farts sound. Like they all sound moist. Do you think I honestly shit my pants?
Well, mine don't sound, dude. What do you eat? You think you're drinking too much
You
beer?
need to fart into a microphone more often. They all sound juicy. The anal lips have a bare minimum of lube, that's same as your mouth lips. So it
Anal
always sounds like
be careful. You said anal juicy. So
anal
we got
lips.
But I think I just want to get your opinion because
I am mortified. That
Gavin's pissed. He's about to read he's broke out the protocols of the elders of Zion.
My co-host would rather annihilate Catholicism than Islam, and I say this to Anthony Cumia. By the way, we talked with Cumia yesterday on Compound Censored about the tunnels for like 20 minutes, so that's why I'm so jaded about the subject. But I came to Zionism from Islamophobia. I don't think people understand that. Tommy Robinson and I are the same. Like, he came to Israel and Zionism from his seething hatred of the Pakistani grooming gangs. And I came to Zionism from my seething hatred of Islam after 9/11. I'm a raging Islamophobe. I don't think Islam is compatible with the modern world. I don't really care about Jews that much. I've never really looked into the Holocaust. It's not a thing. I have, Jew pals, but I came to Judaism from the enemy of my enemy is my friend. So when my friends prefer Islam to Catholicism, dude, I gotta say,
the truth is that
the truth
is
Gavin just got converted.
I know. I saw him pull up on the computer the protocols of the elders of Zion right after he said that. I was like, damn.
I read it.
It's like,
I already read it. I'm a speed reader.
Yeah. See. The thing is that they would.
I think that this is a little bit too complex for you guys. Let me ask you a question.
Hold on. It was my turn to speak. I have barely gotten to speak like this whole entire time.
I muted him.
He just admitted. And this is what we've been trying to tell you for a long time, Gavin. They would rather get rid of Catholicism. If they were given the choice between Islam and Catholicism, they would choose to get rid of Catholicism, just like they would choose to get rid of white people and white nations and replace them with Muslims.
A world without
because they view. Hold on a second here. Just like they would happily replace white people with Muslims in white countries because they think that white people are a greater threat to them and to their survival than diverse populations full of Muslims.
Adam,
what's happening in London? It's just like Brett Stevens says. He says that a diverse.
Gavin, let's talk about it. Let's really talk about this issue. Gavin,
come on.
I have.
Don't be like that.
Listen,
don't abandon me.
I
we were oppressed for 2,000 years.
Retrieving the lost artifacts of the Jewish people, which are held by the Vatican.
Yeah, I'm out.
I don't think that the Vatican represents. Let me ask you a question. Here's
Let's go.
Question. Here's a real question about Catholicism. Okay?
I knew that question would be
good one, Vince. I appreciate it. So
there he goes.
All right, whatever.
I think he's joking.
You guys do whatever you want, but
Serves
the
right.
truth is
the Jew.
The truth is the Jewish people have been oppressed so hard by the Catholics.
It's
What do you
not a
expect me
show.
to say? Like, what do you expect me to say? The Catholics have all of our documents. The Catholics have all of our possessions. They parade around a story about Jesus that isn't true. They only give a partial truth about the life of Jesus. Did Jesus marry? Did Jesus have children? According to you guys, Jesus was never even had children. According to
you guys, Jesus was according to you guys, Jesus was the illegitimate son of a Roman soldier named Pantera.
Listen, you guys believe that the Jews killed Jesus because of this Jesus Barabbas myth, which is perpetrated by the Catholics, which has caused the death of millions of Jews around the world. All right, you guys aren't going to hear the difference. You guys don't understand what I'm talking about.
Oh, okay. We're just a bunch of stupid goyim.